Hey everybody, I wanted to jump on real quick and record a video in regards to a response to something that everybody's talking about. In fact, a lot of my friends, fellow social media marketers, fellow business owners, anybody who knows me in the business I do here at Revox Social have asked what I thought about the documentary, The Social Dilemma. I finally watched it this past weekend with my wife, and I was blown away. And after watching that, I'm still several days later digesting some of that information and figuring out what I can do, what I should do, and what the world looks like in the coming years. They're saying that the generation born, after 1999. Those kids are never going to know a time growing up without social media. And that was one of the biggest things I learned from that. That was alarming, right? That's just kind of crazy to think about. But regardless, you can watch a documentary, you're going to learn all that stuff. But I just want to give you my 2 cents on 3 key takeaways from me personally. This is just my personal stance from a, professional and quite honestly, a personal perspective. First and foremost, I think we have to stop justifying, not using Facebook because it's filled with political propaganda. It's, really clutters my feed. It's nothing but junk. We have to stop using that excuse and to justify using other social media, right? Instagram isn't innocent either. And I spend a ton of time on Instagram. Does that mean I'm going to stop using it? Of course not. I'm still going to use it. Still my go-to platform. I'm still going to recommend it to clients. Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok, all of them. They're all still manipulating us, and we just have to be careful in how we use them and not think that Facebook's the only bad player in all of this. My second takeaway, and this one really kind of hit home for me, like my son, he's going to be 4 years old. He'll never know a life without social media. But I am definitely, as a parent, holding on to his innocence and ignorance for as long as I can. As I sat there on Friday night, shortly before I watched this documentary, and I was scrolling through Instagram, as usual, and I looked down the floor and my son was playing with toys. And I'm sure I'm not the only person that's had a moment like this, a moment where you're kind of like, crap. I'm looking at my phone and my kid is right there waiting for me to play with him. And in that documentary, they talked a lot about the alarming and staggering statistics of teenage suicide rates and teenage usage of social media and how it affects their, their personal life and their mental well-being and their self-deprecating imagery of themselves. Like, it's scary to think about that. I can't avoid it. It's not like I'm going to keep him from someday having a phone and someday using social media, but thinking now what I can do to create borders, to create healthy boundaries so that as I introduce social media, it's not as dangerous. I think it's not too early right now, guys, if you're parents, to really teach our kids what we're looking at. I'm looking at pictures, on my phone of family and of friends and things like that. Have those conversations now, because I think the most dangerous thing we can do is just hand a phone over to a child and say, do your thing like all your friends are doing. My third and final key takeaway from The Social Dilemma is obviously that social media is not going away, probably ever. Some of you think that all of a sudden Facebook and Apple are going to shut down and Google's going to come crashing down with all of our data. They're not going away. They really aren't. So we have to figure out how we, as social media practitioners, marketing folks, anybody in the tech space, what can we do? What can we do to educate people? What can we do to use these platforms for positive change? As someone who lives in this world 9 to 5, basically, I'm trying to figure out how I can make sure I'm educating my clients and my friends, and again, my son, on what social media can do for good, but also what it can do for not so good, right? And this documentary talks a lot of doom and gloom about social media. Some of it you can filter and take it for what it's worth, but there definitely is a lot of negative impact on our use of social media. Our best play is really just to educate people on the dangers while also using these platforms ethically and effectively, right? I want to make sure I'm helping my clients do that so that they feel good about it. I don't want to teach people to run away from it. That's your prerogative if you want to, and I don't necessarily blame you. But I also want to keep doing it because I still believe in the power of social media to accomplish good things. Really hold on to the faith, guys. Lean into people like myself and other social media experts, parents of teenagers. If you're struggling, I'm not a psychologist, but I'm definitely recommending, as someone, again, who lives in the social media space quite a bit, watch this documentary with your family, with your kids. Teach them that these tools are effective, but they're also addictive. I know that it was kind of a rant, but a lot of you have been asking for my honest feedback about the documentary. This is what I have to share. I hope you find it somewhat helpful, and more than anything, I hope the documentary inspires you, informs you, and encourages you to make some changes.